Hello everyone, welcome to this lecture where we are going to start with our SQC1 and SQ220. First of all, we are going to cover all your standards, all the 4 types of standards. Then we will do professional ethics and then we will do other chapters in this particular order we will do in our batch. If you haven't watched the first lecture where we covered what is audit, why audit, what are the syllabus of audit, what are the basic terms in audit, what things you should focus while you are studying the CA final audit, everything is covered in that particular lecture. Please watch that particular lecture. Even if you have read CA final audit once, that particular lecture is important for you. That will build your base for everything that we are going to discuss in this particular batch. And this particular batch is going to be your 100% concepts and 100% questions from part 1 of the question bank. Today we are going to cover SQC1 and SQ220. So now, sir, what is SQC1? I already told you in the basics. That is, SQC1 refers to standards on quality control 1. This is the only standard that talks about quality control. But in essays, there is one more standard which talks about quality control, that is SA220. Now, students generally get confused when we have to quote SQC1 and when we have to quote SA220. So to give you a blanket answer, give you a common answer, and this is applicable in your across your CA final audit syllabus or across your all the subjects. That is this thing, that when you are confused between two answers, in one question you understand or you're thinking, okay, I can apply SQC1 here or I can apply SA220 both here. I am not sure on which essay to particularly apply. I am not sure which answer will come here. In professional ethics, I am not sure which clause will apply here. Then in all those cases, you have to answer both of the things. You have to write both the answers. First, you will write as per SQC1 what is your understanding of what should be the answer according to you, and secondly, you will write as per SA220 what should be the answer according to you. Because even if suppose SA220 is the right answer, you have written SQC1 and SA220 both. So SQC1, the examiner will cut your SQC1 part, but examiner will tick your SA220 part and give you 5 out of 5 marks. And that is a tried and tested thing. You can see in my 500 plus certified copy analysis video. If you just know some Hindi, then you will understand. Okay, yes sir. So what I'm saying is, whenever you are confused between any of the answers, you have to mention both the answers, because ICAR doesn't cut marks for writing more, but it definitely cut marks for writing less. Okay, yes sir. So all your confusion is gone with this particular statement that I have just said. Okay, yes sir. So first of all, let's discuss what is the difference between SQC1 and SQ220. So SQC1, as the name suggests, what is the name of SQC1? Quality control for those firms that perform all the services that we have discussed in our basics. What were the services that we had discussed? First of all, it was audit. Second was review, and audit and review is of historical financial information. Now, what is the thing that is other than historical financial information? That is other assurance engagement, and the engagement where we do not give assurances, related service engagement. So it says that firm which performs any of the services, they have to maintain quality control, and for maintaining quality control there is SQC1. And SQ220 talks about what? Quality control for audit of financial statements. When you are auditing the financial statements, then your SQ220 is applied. So basically SQ220 standards on auditing. So obviously it's applicable on auditing only. Okay, yes sir. So now SQC1 and SQ220, what is the difference, sir? SQC1 applies to all types of engagement as we have already discussed, but SQ220 applies to audit only. SQC1 applies to entire firm. Whatever your firm is doing, you have to maintain quality, but SA220 applies to only that particular audit engagement. Suppose we are auditing Reliance company, then SA220 will apply only to that Reliance particular company. Yes sir. Okay, now what is the difference? What is the commonality between the both of them? Because they talk about the common objective. Their objective is common, that is quality control system. You have heard about internal control system. We have to maintain a system of internal controls in our organization so that everything flows smoothly. In the same way, we have to maintain a system of quality control which should ensure that we are providing our services with quality. So the objective of both of them is same, that we have to maintain a quality control system that gives us reasonable assurance. Whom, sir? The auditor. The auditor should obtain reasonable assurance that there is a quality control system. Now what reasonable assurance we would want? That we are complying with our PRL requirements. What I said, sir? PRL requirements. Now what is the full form of PRL requirements? Professional, regulatory and legal requirements. This PRL word is going to be used many ways, so you can Definitely remember this. So PRL is basically professional, regulatory and legal requirements. So basically we have to develop a quality control system that gives us a reasonable assurance that our firm is complying with PRL requirements, and if we are complying with PRL requirements, that means our audit reports are appropriate in the circumstances. That's it. So this is our objective as per SQC1 and SA220. Okay, yes sir. So what is the objective, sir? Let's first of all discuss from our concept book SQC1 and SA220. SQC1 is quality control for firms that perform audit and review of historical financial information and other assurance and related service engagement. SA220 is quality control for audit of financial statements, and SA220 is based on the assumption that the firm is already applying SQC1. So SQC1 is being applied on a higher level, and if we are doing audit, then additionally we are applying SA220. That is the assumption of SA220. Okay, yes sir. So SQC1 applies to all types of engagement, SA220 applies to audit engagement only. SQC1 applies to entire firm, SA220 applies to particular audit engagement only. Now the objective of both is common, so you can see we have merged both the cells of the table. So objective is firm should establish a quality control system so that we get a reasonable assurance. What reasonable assurance, sir? That we are complying with our PRL requirement. PRL is professional, regulatory and legal. Same with me, professional, regulatory and legal, and reports issued are appropriate in the circumstances. Now each of the standard has some quality control system elements. Elements means what are the things that constitute the quality control system are called elements. So elements of quality control system, you can see there are 6 elements of quality control system, and here in SF, so here it is everything about SQC1, here it is everything about SA220. We have bifurcated it table wise. So SA220, in that there is responsibilities of engagement partner in relation to the following. What are the responsibilities of engagement partner? Now you know from the basics lecture that engagement partner is the main particular person, the most important person in the audit engagement, who is the auditor who signs the financial statement, is who has the authority and responsibility for the audit. Okay, yes sir. So we are discussing about the responsibilities of engagement partner, and here also there are 6 responsibilities of engagement partner. So you can see that both the points are clearly similar, so we will be discussing both the points. Now at the CA final level, you cannot expect ICAI to ask a question where they will be saying you to list down the elements of quality control system. That would not be the case. So we will have to individually understand all the elements of quality control system. Okay, yes sir. So we will definitely be understanding all the elements of quality control system, so we need not read everything here. So first of all, let's start with the first element. First element, what does the first element say, sir? It says that leadership has the responsibility for maintaining quality within the firm. At the firm level, this is SQC1, at the firm level, leadership has the responsibility for maintaining quality within the firm. Now, at a firm level, who is the leader, sir? Is the engagement partner leader at the firm level? No. Engagement partner is the leader of the audit. So, at the firm level, who is the leader, sir? The CEO, the managing director, the managing partner of the firm is the leader at the firm level. And the CEO, MD and MP has the responsibility for maintaining quality within the firm. Now, what they should ensure, sir? They should ensure that the quality control system should override business strategy. What is our business strategy, sir? Our business strategy is to make maximum profits for ourselves and for our clients and for our investors. So our business strategy is to maximize our revenue and our profit. But that business strategy, or you can say the quality control system, suppose this is the quality control system, this is a business strategy, then the quality control system should override the business strategy. What does this mean, sir? Override means the priority should be given to your quality control system. That means that you should first think about the quality of the work that you will be able to do instead of thinking about the revenue or the profit that you will be getting from the work. So instead of accepting everything and everyone as your client, you need to first reconsider whether you will be able to work with quality on each of your existing clients or not. Okay, yes sir, this is the main particular thing of this particular leadership responsibility. Now what does the question will ask, sir? The question will ask the considerations to uphold quality. What are the considerations to uphold quality? Like what are the things you will consider to prioritize quality? Now there are two particular, so basically this is your flow chart with which through which we will understand all the 4 points, but there is the 2 points are just interlinked or just vice versa. First of all, it says that the commercial considerations should not override quality. What are commercial considerations, sir? That we have to maximize revenue, we have to maximize profit. So our commercial considerations should not override quality. Now suppose the quality is here, the commercial consideration is here, so the commercial consideration should not override override quality, which means that the quality should override the commercial consideration. We can say it in a twisted way. So they are saying in that twisted way that the commercial consideration should not override quality. If we have to say it in a clean way, then you should be overriding commitment to quality. Your commitment to quality should be overriding. You should be prioritizing your commitment to quality compared to your commercial considerations. So these two points are interrelated. Now if we have to work with quality on any of the client, we have to first get information about the client. No, we will get to know what the client is, how the client works, then only we will be able to provide quality services. No, so they are saying that we have to obtain information about the client, and to obtain information about the client, we have to dedicate our sufficient resources. We have to send our personnel to extract information about the client. We have to use their time and efforts and resources. So we have to have a sufficient resources for doing this. Now this is the basically your, you can see, a flow type, a story type of memory technique that I have tried to build that has all the keywords. Now the thing is, when we will read from the concept book, the context in which these words are used is definitely different. So what you have to do is, from here you have to just understand the flow, just memorize the flow of the keywords. If you are able to remember all these keywords, and if you write these keywords and underline these keywords in your answer sheet, then you are going to get 100% marks. About those, all the blue lines, all the blue words, then you have to just read those, read them 2-3 times, so that you understand what in what context the keyword is used, so that you can write similar words in your exams. But you don't have to write 100% correct. You don't have to be 100% correct. If you are writing all the keywords and underlining them, then you are definitely going to get 100% marks, that's for sure. Okay, yes sir. So what we were saying is, the first element is leadership responsibilities for quality within the firm, that the leader of the firm has the quality to maintain responsibility to maintain quality. Who is the leader of the firm, sir? Firm CEO, MD and MP. Now the firm's quality control system should override its business strategy, which should be ensured, or what are the considerations to uphold quality of the firm. Now here, see here, we have mentioned everything the ICAI can ask question from. Either the ICAI can say, okay, leadership responsibility for quality within the firm, explain. Quality control system should override business strategy, explain. What are the considerations to uphold quality? So every heading, every point, every topic that the ICAI can ask question from is already mentioned in our handwritten notes and in our concept book. So what you have to do is, you don't just have to understand or learn those 4 points, you have to also understand, or you have to also memorize which heading contains which points. Because even if you understand or learn those 4 points and you don't know which question is asked, then you will have to write these 4 points. Then there is no use of understanding or learning these 4 points. So you have to also see, or you have to also consider the headings which will be mentioned in the question when you have to write these 4 points. Okay, yes sir, this is just a general advice. I will not obviously share with you every time, but yeah, you should understand this. Okay, so what is saying, sir, what are the considerations to uphold quality? First is that the firm should assign management responsibilities. Management should be responsible so that the commercial consideration should not override quality of work performed. Commercial consideration should not override quality, which means that we should have a overriding commitment to quality. Our firm's policy should demonstrate, should exhibit, should show that we have overriding commitment to quality. Next is, before accepting any engagement, before accepting any audit, we should obtain vital information about the client. We should obtain information about the client to decide about the integrity of the client. Now what is integrity, competence, and we will be discussing it afterwards. There will be another point, another element which we'll talk about in detail, so we will discuss it there. But you need to just understand for now that we have to obtain vital information about the client, important information about the client. Now and last, the firm devotes sufficient resources for development of QCS policies. To develop QCS policies, the firm should devote sufficient resources. This is our first element of SQC1. Let's do question number 1. For questions, what we will be doing is, I have already highlighted these questions in your question bank. So you will get, for whatever question bank you have received, there the questions will be highlighted in this form. And in the exam, or in this particular batch, what we are doing is, we are going to quickly revise all the questions, and then we are going to quickly revise all the answers based on the highlighted words. Okay, yes sir. So basically what first question wants to say is, it says that the promoter of our approved intentional client, or maybe you can say that the promoter of our potential client is a close associate and family friend of our managing partner. Our firm has a managing partner, Mr. A, and the managing partner is a close associate or a family friend of one of our potential clients' promoter. So you can say they are interrelated. They have a good bond between themselves. Our leader and their leader has a good bond between themselves. Now, what happened is that in that particular company, there were inquiries from regulatory authorities. There were some inquiries from regulatory authorities. There was some phishing thing going in the company, and their existing auditors has already resigned. Oh my god, when the auditor resigned, no, it is a very big thing if the auditor has resigned. That means the company is definitely doing something false, something malicious. So auditors should definitely resign. So the existing auditor has already resigned and created a casual vacancy. So the company now is offering us 25% more than the existing fees of the auditor and has approached us for as an appointment of auditor. Now, tell me, as an auditor, will you accept some company who has already been on a search radar of the regulatory authorities, whose already existing auditor has resigned from the company? No, sir. If we talk about ethical, if we talk about ethics, if we talk about quality, we should not accept any kind of such audits. But here, since the Mr. A is in close relation with the promoter of that particular company, Mr. A has a strong recommendation that we should accept the audit. Oh my god, the leadership, the leader of the firm is having that consideration that we should join, we should accept that particular audit since he is closely familiar with the promoter of the company. So now what is our understanding for the functioning of the tone at the top of the organization, which means that the person who are at the top of the organization, what is our thinking about them? And secondly, what are the considerations to uphold quality of the firm? Considerations, we have just discussed these 4 points. We will obviously write those 4 points. But before that, there is one more question. What is what is our view about the functioning of the tone at the top of the organization? So first of all, we will write the given situation. Now let me tell you, the given situation doesn't have any marks. You get 0 marks for writing the given situation, because ICA also knows that we copy just the facts of the question in the given situation. So ICA doesn't give any of the marks. So which means that should we skip writing given situation? No, you should not skip writing given situation, but you should write the given situation in mostly 2 or 3 lines. You should not waste more than that of your time. Okay, yes sir, the given situation is this. I will not obviously read what is given in the situation since we have already read the question. Now it says what it reflects on the functioning at the top of the organization. It reflects poorly at the functioning at the top of the organization, because the top of the organization or the leadership responsibility is to maintain quality. They should have quality control so that they can obtain reasonable assurance that we are complying with our PRL standards, and the business strategy is subject to overriding requirement. Our business strategy should not be overriding. Our quality control should be overriding the business strategy. That should be the case. But here our business strategy is overriding the quality control. Okay. Yes, sir. And the managing partner here, what happens is the managing partner is close associate or family friend, and this matter should have been brought to the knowledge of the firm. The managing partner should have informed the firm that he is a close family friend of the promoter of the company, and he didn't inform. Matlab, there is a integrity breach. There is a question that is raised about the integrity of the proposed client. Why integrity of the proposed? What is integrity, sir? Integrity means honesty, whether the client is true and faithful in his dealings. We can see that the regulatory authorities have conducted search in the client. The existing auditor is retired, so which means that the client is not of integrity, and we are still accepting that particular client, or we are still recommending to accept that particular client. That means we are not working with quality. Okay, yes sir. So these are some general lines that ICA has written, and the main answer is here. What are the considerations to uphold quality of the firm? That the firm assigns managing commercial consideration should not override quality, which means that you have an overriding commitment to quality. For quality, you will have to obtain vital information about the client. For obtaining vital information, you will have to deploy your sufficient resources. Okay, yes sir, this was the first question. Now let's move to the first element of our essay 220. First element of our essay 220, what does it say, sir? It says that the leadership responsibility for quality on audit. For maintaining quality on audit, there is a responsibility of leadership. Now, in audit particularly, who is the leader, sir? Engagement partner. So yes, engagement partner is responsible for quality on each audit engagement. Now, what shall engagement partner do? The actions of engagement partner shall emphasize. What shall it emphasize, sir? That quality is essential. What does essential means? Necessary. Quality is necessary and quality is important. Sir, you are talking about quality is essential, quality is important. and everything is about quality. Why quality, sir? Why quality? Because quality help us to comply. Quality helps us to comply with our bahar wali and under. So what is bahar wali and what is andar wali, sir? Just a second. Just give me a second. I guess we have it here. Yes, yeah. So quality helps us to comply with the outside affairs and the internal affairs. Outside means your external affairs, external affairs, extramarital affairs. So they are talking about this. So external affairs and internal affairs. So what are external affairs, sir? Are PRL requirements, professional, regulatory and legal requirements. And what is our internal affairs, sir? Our internal firm's quality control system, that we are complying with our firm's quality control system. Now internal affairs, so okay, if we are not complying, then we can do some adjustment. But if we are not complying with the PRL requirement, then there is a concern. So our team has the ability to raise concerns without fear of reprisals. What is reprisal, sir? It is punishment. So basically, I am an article, okay? So I know that the senior is just doing his work casually. He's not working anymore, and he's just doing the audit casually. I know everything about that, but I cannot. I'm just afraid of informing it to manager, because if I inform the manager and if the manager confronts my senior, then the senior will give me more work, and senior will just punish me for complaining about him to the manager. So here, that should not be the case in your firm. Your firms, the team should raise the concerns without fear of reprisals. Reprisals means punishment. Without fear of punishment, your team should be able to raise any concerns that they know about. That is the thing. And if we are able to do everything, if we are able to comply with everything, then the reports that we will be preparing are appropriate in the circumstances. So basically, this is the leadership responsibility, or maybe you can say the EP responsibility for quality on audit. Let's understand from the concept book. What does it say, sir? That leadership responsibility for quality on audit. So leadership, who is the leadership in the quality audit, sir? Engagement partner. So engagement partner has the responsibility for overall quality on each audit engagement. Now, what shall the actions of EP sir emphasize? First of all, fact that the quality is essential. When you are performing audit engagement, quality is essential and quality is important. Why quality is important, sir? Because it helps us to comply with PRL requirements, our external affairs and the internal affairs, like the complying with the firm quality control policies and procedures. Now, and secondly, if we are not complying with anything, then the engagement team has the ability to raise concerns without fear of reprisals, that is without fear of a punishment. And if we are doing everything right, that means when we are issuing auditors report that are appropriate in the circumstances, we are not issuing any inappropriate reports. Okay, yes, sir. Now let's talk about the second element, that is ethical requirements. Why this are merged? Because ethical requirements is common in both SQC1 and SO220. First of all, what I have to tell you is there are 4 points in your ethical requirements, and these 4 points, some points are there in SQC1, some points are there in SO220. I have just merged both the points. So what you have to do is, when you are writing any answer based on ethical requirements, then you have to mention all those 4 points 2 times. First of all, you have to write as per SQC1 these 4 points, then you have to write SO220 these 4 points. So you don't have to understand or learn, okay, SQC1 there are these 3 points, SO220 there are 3 points. You have just to merge both the points and write all the 4 points 2 times, and you will get all the marks. Okay, yes, sir. So I'm talking about ethical requirements. Now let me tell you what is the basic requirement for me to be an auditor, sir. The basic requirement is independence, that I should be independent. So here it says that we should be independent. This is the basic requirement. Now, if we have to be independent, I know as an engagement partner that I need to be independent, but will my engagement, the audit engagement team, whole audit engagement team need to be independent? Yes, the full audit engagement team need to be independent. So we need to communicate to them that they should be independent. So first of all, what we will do is we will communicate to all the personnel about the ethical requirements, what ethical requirements comply to, what they have to comply. We will have to communicate to all the personnel. Now, after communicating, there might be some cases where there may be threats to independence. Now, sir, what are the threats to independence? Suppose your article of the team has traded in the shares of the audit client. Now that is a threat to the independence, because now he is not independent. So we have to identify and evaluate if any of the threats on independence exist or not. The threats we will discuss in detail in our professional ethics chapter. You just have to understand that the threats is something which is questioning our independence. Okay, yes, sir. So we have to identify and evaluate the threats. If there are threats on independence, then we will have to take actions to eliminate those threats. What does eliminating mean, sir? The eliminating in that particular case can be, we should remove the article from our team. So our team is now independent. So that in that way we are eliminating the threat, or if we are not able to eliminate the threat, then we should reduce the threats by applying the safeguard. What does safeguard means, sir? Safeguard are those particular actions which you take to reduce the threats to an acceptable level, the level which you can accept. So basically you can apply the safeguards. What if you are not able to apply the, what if you are not able to eliminate the threat, what if you are not able to apply the safeguards? Then the only option you have is to withdraw, because you are not independent. There are threats to independence, which means you are not independent, you are not able to eliminate, you are not able to reduce the threat. Then you should withdraw, you should just resign from the engagement. So the last option is withdraw. Okay, yes sir. And anything about these, all these independent breaches should be promptly notified to the firm. Since this is audit engagement, the engagement partner should promptly notify everything to the CEO, MP and MD, so that they can take any of the decisions if they want to. So these are the 4 points that you have to write in your ethical requirements. Now continuing with the ethical requirements, you have to, okay, so I have communicated the personnel about my policies, about the ethical requirements that they have to comply. But you know, we as a student, we don't even remember what you have studied around 1 hour before. So as an employee, how we will remember any of the policies that we have studied hours, years before? So what they are saying is, you have to mandatorily obtain a written confirmation from all the personnel that they are complying with their ethical requirements. This written confirmation should be obtained at least annually. Here this is an MCQ point, at least annually. What does at least annually means? That at least once in every year you should obtain this written confirmation from all the personnel. Can we obtain monthly? Yes. Can we obtain half yearly? Yes. Can we obtain bi-yearly in 2 years? 1 in 2 years? No, you cannot do that. You should actually at least ask for the written confirmation once in every year. Okay, yes sir. Now there is something called as familiarity threat. So when I talked about threats, I told you that we will discuss in detail in professional ethics. So there are different types of threat. One is among them is familiarity threat. What is familiarity threat? The name itself says that familiar. So when the client and the auditor are familiar between themselves, I have a long association with the client. I am the only client of that particular, I am the only auditor of that particular client from maybe past 10 to 12 years. Then we have got a good bond with the client, and we are too sympathetic about the interests of the client. We are not we are thinking that if I will issue any modified opinion, then the client shares will go down, client will suffer a loss, so that let's not issue modified opinion. So I am just basically familiar with the client. So there happens a familiarity threat. Familiarity threat, when does a familiarity threat happens? When there is a same personnel for long time. What can we do for familiarity threat? We can apply safeguard. How to apply safeguard, sir? What safeguard we can apply, sir? First of all, either rotate the engagement partner. So because engagement partner is having a long association with the client, so you can just rotate the engagement partner. Rotate means you can change the engagement partner, appoint some other engagement partner as the engagement partner. You can rotate the engagement partner, or you can appoint a EQCR. Here the new term and the most important term in this CFS SQC1 SQ220, EQCR. What is EQCR, sir? Engagement Quality Control Reviewer. There is also someone that you have to appoint that will review the quality control in your engagement, whether you are maintaining the quality or not. Apart from the engagement partner, there will also be other person who will be reviewing the quality control of the engagement. So either you rotate the engagement partner, or you hire a EQCR so that he can ensure that you are working with quality. In case of listed entity, if I have to tell you, in case of listed entity, the engagement partner should be rotated within 7 years. Like for maximum 7 years, I can be an engagement partner of that particular kind. Post 7 years, there will be another partner who has to be the engagement partner of that particular client if it is a listed entity. But this particular 7 years is not applicable in case of sole proprietor. Why is not sole proprietor? Because sole proprietor has a maximum limit of 5 years. If I am a sole proprietor and I am auditing a client, then I can audit for continuous maximum 5 years only. Then there is a cooling off period. But if I am in a firm, the maximum period is 5 years of 2 term, that is 10 years total. So I can, as an engagement partner in a firm, can audit a client for maximum 7 years. Now another partner will audit that particular client for next 3 years, remaining 3 years. Okay, yes sir. So this is applicable only for listed entity. This is important for MCQ purposes. Please do remember that. Okay, yes sir. Now let's understand the second element, which is ethical requirements. What is the talks about, sir? That the basic requirement of an auditor is to be independent. Now the policies and procedures should enable the firm to, or you have to write for all the 4 points in both SQC1 and SQ220. First of all, all, we have to communicate about all our theoretical requirements to the personnel. We have to obviously communicate to our personnel. They do not know, they don't have the dream that they have to be independent. We have to obviously specify them that they have to be independent. Next, after that, we have to identify and evaluate if there are any circumstances, if there are any relationships that create threats to independence. Okay, yes sir, if there are threats to independence, then we have to take appropriate elimination to appropriate actions to eliminate those threats. If we are not able to eliminate it, then reduce them to an acceptable level by applying safeguards. Or if you are not able to even reduce, then if appropriate, you can withdraw from the engagement. And everything that you have done above, that is in all the independence breaches, should be promptly notified to the firm for appropriate action. Okay, yes sir. Now MCQ point is, at least annually the firm should obtain written confirmation. You have to obtain written confirmation that they are complying with all the ethical requirements from all the firm personnel, from everyone. Okay, yes sir. Now here comes one thread, that is familiarity threat. When we are using the same personnel for a longer period of time, then this threat exists. Safeguard is you can either rotate the engagement partner, or you can hire an engagement quality control reviewer, that is EQCR. Okay, yes sir. Now in listed entity, you have to mandatorily that EQCR should be rotated in at least 7 years, and this is not applicable in case of sole practitioner. Okay, yes sir. Let's do question number 2. What does question number 2 say? Question number 2 says that why do you think that the firm should have a policies and procedures to ensure independence of the firm in every assignment? Why do you think that we should have an independence policies and procedures? And secondly, how does an engagement partner ensure compliance of independence? How does engagement partner check that the company that the firm is independent or not? We have already studied about independence. Now the question is not direct. It is not asking you to specify the policies and procedures about the ethical requirements, but it is asking you to specify the policies and procedures of independence. So you will have to link. We have heard about independence policies and procedures in SQC1, SA220. There was a second element of ethical requirements which talks about independence. So we will have to write all those points about those independence. So here you can see, first of all, they have written a few points as per SQC1. You don't have to obviously write. Okay, yeah, one more thing which I wanted to tell you about, whether we need to learn all these SQC or essays number or standards numbers and all the full name of the standards. So it is recommendatory. It is obviously very good, better if you remember all these numbers and all these names. But in the answer, in the question, in the exams, if you are not able to remember the particular number, then don't quote wrong number. If you are sure about the standards number, then only you should quote the standard number. And even if you don't know the full name of the standard, if you know the gist of the standard, suppose SQC1, you don't know the full name, you know that it talks about quality control, then you can just write as per SQC1 quality control for firms. So anything, even if you know the gist of the standard, if you write the name or in the gist, then also it's fine. But try to write it in the full form only. Okay, yes sir. So it says that the independence, what are the policies and procedures that we have to communicate about independence requirements? We have to identify and evaluate the circumstances and relationship. We will write all the 4 points because we do not know what points are covered in SQC1. Secondly, similarly, for as per SA220, we will write all the points. We will just copy all these points and write it here. So you don't have to understand, you don't have to learn the differences between SQC1 and SA220. You can write all the 4 points together. Okay, yes sir, this was the question just. So they just talked about independence from a firm perspective. So we talked about SQC1. They talked about independence from the engagement partner perspective. So we write all the points as per SA220 also, because SA220 specifically covers audit engagement. Okay, yes sir. Now let's talk about the third element of our SQC1 and SA220. So the third element says, it talks about that, about the acceptance and continuance of client relationships and specific engagements. So whenever we are accepting the client or whenever we are continuing the client, we have previously audited the client and now we are continuing from the same year also. So before accepting the client, before accepting the continuance of the client, before accepting any engagement, the firm should obtain vital information about the client. Now what is vital information about the client? Let me tell you. It says about the vital information about the client. Just a second here. So here it says that we have to obtain some vital information about the client. So about the client, we have to only obtain one thing, and about us, we have to know 2 things. So about client, we have to obtain about integrity of the client. Now what is integrity of the client means? Integrity of the client means that we have to be honest. We have to check whether the client is honest. We have to check whether the client is truthful and honest in all his dealings and everything. We have to check about the integrity of the client. And about us, we have to check 2 things. What 2 things we have to check? First of all, whether we are competent competent. What does competent means? Whether we have the required knowledge and skills to perform that particular services, whether we are capable of providing those services, whether we have time of providing those services, whether we have enough resources of providing those services. So we have to check competence, capabilities, time and resources for ourselves. And secondly, what we have to check for ourselves, that is whether we will be able to comply with the ethical requirements in this particular engagement or not. So about the client, we have to obtain one thing. About us, we have to obtain two things. And between the client and the firm, whether there were any significant matters during current or previous audit engagements, we have to consider that. And this particular point is mentioned only in your SA 220. And these 4 points, otherwise these 3 points are also mentioned in your SQC 1 and SA 220 both. Okay, yes sir. So it says that we have to obtain information about the client. Now, when we are obtaining information about the client, if we identify any of the particular issues, suppose we have identified that we don't have any sufficient resources for providing the services to the client, and even after the issues are identified, we are accepting or continuing with the client engagement, that we need to document how the issues were resolved, because with issues we cannot do anything. So we need to document. It may be the case that we know that we don't have sufficient resources, and we hired sufficient resources, and that's how we resolve the issue, and that's why we accepted the client. So we need to document all these things in our audit documentation. Okay, yes sir. Now the memory technique is, before accepting or continuing any relationship, I see every shadi. Shadi means wedding in Hindi. So I see every shadi. I see every shadi, which means I see, from I it is integrity. S say self check, that is I am checking myself, that is I am checking my competence. For E it is ethical requirements, and from S it is significant matters between the client and the audit engagement. You can remember from this memory technique, or you can remember from this chart as well. Okay, yes sir. Let's understand it from our concept book. What does it say? It says that we have to, before accepting the engagement, we should obtain vital information about the client. What does vital information about the client stand for? We have to obtain 1 information about the client and 2 information about ourselves. 1 information about the client, that is integrity of the client. 1 information about ourselves, that is CCTR. What we will call is CCTR, that will be used many times in your CA final audit syllabus. We have to see our competence, our capability, our time and resources to perform the engagement. We have to see whether we will be able to comply with the ethical requirements or not. And lastly, we have to see the significant matters between the current or previous audit engagement. And if there are any issues identified, any of the particular elements, then we decided to accept the relationship, then we have to document how the issues were resolved. Let's see question number 3. What does it want to say? It says that, okay, so this was the case which was asked in your previous year question, basically in your exam of May 24, new course. So it says that the company has shared us the appointment letter. So what does the process of appointing an auditor is? Suppose let's discuss the process of appointing an auditor. You will better understand it from that perspective now. So where is the process of appointing the auditor? Here we will discuss it in SA 210, but let's just have a brief overview of the process of how does it work. So first of all, the auditor is appointed by the shareholders in the AGM. In the AGM, the company, the board of directors or audit committee proposes some few names as the auditors of the company, and then the shareholders vote, and then the shareholders appoint the auditor in the AGM. Now, as soon as the AGM is appointed, the TCWG of the company sends the appointment letter to the auditor. Who's the TCWG? Those charged with governance, the board of directors, the audit committee, then sends the appointment letter to the auditor. Now, auditor is sent an appointment letter. Now, auditor decides whether if he wants to accept that particular audit of the company or not. If the auditor accepts that particular audit, then the auditor sends an accept the appointment letter, and then the auditor sends an engagement letter to the client. What is an engagement letter? What is covered in the engagement letter? That we will discuss in the SA 220, but this is the particular process that first of all the company sends an appointment letter, and then the auditor accepts the appointment letter and then sends the engagement letter to the client. Okay, yes sir, this is the normal procedure that is working. So it says, where is it? Yes. So it would say the company has shared us the appointment letter. Now we need to decide whether we want to accept the particular audit or not. When we were obtaining information about the client, we got to know that there was a search by the income tax authorities of the company, and certain accounting records of the company were seized for verification. Now there is any fishy thing going on over here. Based on the available information, we noted that the promoter's brother, so the company has a promoter and the promoter has a brother. The promoter brother is contemplating contemplating or is requesting or is thinking to contest in the ensuing elections, in the future elections, the promoter brother is thinking to participate. Okay, yes, one of our current senior engagement team members has left our firm. Our own, the firm's engagement team member has left, senior engagement team member has left our firm, and the firm and that particular person is planning to provide some accounting services to one of the associate companies. Now this company is PQRSO, sorry, this company is the name is not given of the company. So basically this is one company, and that company's associate company, our current senior engagement team member is planning to provide accounting services. You know, as an auditor I cannot provide accounting services. Why, sir? There is a self-review thread, because when I'm providing accounting services, I'm maintaining your books of accounts, and then only I'm auditing your books of accounts. So will I be able to identify any of the wrongdoings that I would have done when I will be making your books of accounts, or when I'll be doing your accounting? No, sir, I will be not able to review it objectively, my own work which I had done previously. So this is particular issue that is highlighted over here. Next is that we are yet to recruit another senior manager who has the adequate experience. So basically we don't have the adequate experienced team members for doing this particular audit. Now we have to elaborate. So these are all the situations that are given in the question. Now the questions that says that we have to elaborate the matters that we need to consider with respect to acceptance and continuance of client relationships. The main word is here, is elaborate the matters. We have to elaborate, we have to detail all the matters. So basically, first of all, obviously we know in the acceptance and continuance of client relationships, we know that there are three or four information that we have to obtain, vital information that we have to obtain about the client. One is integrity of the client, and two things about us, that is competence, CCTR, and compliance with ethical requirements. Now it says that we need to obtain information before accepting the engagement with the new client, so that we can decide whether we have to accept or not. If any issues have been identified, then we still continue to decide, we still continue to accept the client, then we need to document how the issues are resolved. So these are the things that are already discussed. Now here it has mentioned, ICA has mentioned one more point from SA220 perspective about the independence requirements, that the engagement partner should see whether there are any threats, where identify and evaluate any circumstances or relationship that create threats to the independence. So you have one more point from independence is mentioned by the ICA, which as a student I wouldn't have generally mentioned. Okay, yes, so basically I'm saying you this, anything and everything that you know around the topic, you have to mention all the points you have to mention around that particular topic. Whenever you are attempting any these type of question which are open-ended, which doesn't specify any particular requirement. Okay, yes sir. So as a student I would have mentioned these things, I won't have mentioned this. Now it says to elaborate the matter. So ICA has elaborated the individual matter. This particular thing is not covered in your ICA module as well. So ICA has just written all these answers based on his own wordings. So basically in the in your examination there might be maximum 2 or 3 questions which are of these type, where the answers wording would be dependent on us. So you don't have to worry about those questions, because we don't have to score 100 out of 100 marks. We are definitely satisfied and happy with scoring 90 marks in CF annual audit. We don't want to score 100 marks, so we can definitely ignore these type of questions and do these type of questions in the last of our answer exam time, when we have just few of the time left. Then we can do all these questions and write anything that is coming in our mind. But yes, obviously as a student I could have written this, but I couldn't have written this, which individually describes each of the following matters. What are the matters, sir? They say that the firm should follow policies and procedures for client and acceptance and continuance, and that they have described all the activities that is given in the question. Then they said that we have to communicate clearly with the client regarding the scope of the engagement. We have to tell what is covered in our engagement, what is not covered in our engagement. Independence and objectivity, we have to maintain independence throughout the engagement. We have to be independent. We need to continually monitor our client relationships if there are any changes or developments that may impact the client's ability. And lastly, we have to ensure that the engagement team possesses necessary competence and capabilities to perform the audit effectively, because we know that the current senior engagement team partner has left the company, and we do not have any of the senior manager who has the same experience to audit that particular client, which means that we don't have sufficient resources to perform that particular engagement. We need to consider this matter as well. Okay, Yes sir. So if you are not able to understand or if you're not able to relate to what you have written in this particular case, so don't worry about it. We are happily losing just 2 marks over here. This is a 5 marks question. Here you will get 3 marks, and for this any 2 of the points you will get 2 marks. Okay, yes sir. So this was the particular question of your question number 3. Now let's talk about the another part, that is, okay, so now here they are discussing these 2 points in detail. First point is, what are the matters that we need to consider with regard to integrity of the client? When we are checking about the integrity of the client, what matters we need to consider? So first of all, when any client is coming to me and saying to me, okay, yes sir, you please accept our audit, then we need to think why it is coming to us, why it is appointing us, why it is not reappointing his previous audit firm, why there is no reappointment of the previous firm. Is there any issue? Is there any dialogues between both of them? Is there any conflicts between both of them? What is the reason that the client is coming to me and the client is not going to his existing CA? Okay, yes, after identifying this, now we will have to see the client. We will have to see the client, which means that we have to see what are the nature of operations of the client, what is the actual business of the client, how is the customer feedbacks, customer review, how is the client actually working, what is the identity and business reputation of the client. Now we have to deal with the owners. Then what is the attitude of the owners of the client? Owners means TCWG, key management. What is the attitude of them? Is the attitude in that way that they will put a limitation on scope of my work? We have discussed already this in basics. Limitation on scope means they will not able to, or they will just prevent me from obtaining audit evidences in many of the fields. Suppose they tell me, okay, you cannot identify, you cannot verify inventory, you cannot verify trade receivables, you cannot verify sales. So from their attitude, if I am able to gaze that they will put a limitation on scope of my work, or they will either put a limitation on scope of my work, or they will keep my fees as low as possible. Why they will keep my fees as low as possible? Because now they want me to not spend much of my time in auditing their company, because if I will spend much of the time in auditing their company, then I will be able to identify all the problems. So they want to keep my fees as low as possible, and because they are earning their money from money laundering, so they don't want to pay me much fees. Okay, yes sir, this is just a flow chart that I am obviously again reiterating. This is just a flow chart for your memorization of the keywords. This is not the actual context in which keywords are used. The actual context is given in your concept book. Okay, yes sir. So these are the matters which we have to consider from the point of view of integrity of client. The memory technique is, when we are going to see any girl or a boy for a relationship, for a marriage, then there are 7 red flags that we need to avoid or we need to see. What are the 7 red flags? Why the earlier boy or why the earlier girl rejected you? Why the earlier girl rejected you, which you went to saw her? Why the earlier girl rejected you? Secondly, what is your nature? As a girl, I will see the boy's nature. What is your nature? What is your family's identity and reputation? What is the attitude of my sasuma, that is owner? So what is the attitude of my sasuma, that is mother-in-law, father-in-law? What is their attitude? Is their attitude in that way that they will put a limitation on my scope, that is they will just tell me to be a housewife and not let me go out and work? Will they be asking for more dowry? Will be asking for more or less dowry because they are working in a money laundering business? So basically these are all the 7 red flags that I will be considering before entering into any relationship. You can remember from that perspective as well. So what are the matters that we need to consider with regard to integrity? First of all, what are the reasons for proposed appointment of my firm and non-reappointment of your previous firm? Secondly, we will see about the client. What we will see about the client? The nature of the client operations. What is the identity and business reputation of the owner's key management, TCWG? What is the information that we have regarding the attitude of the client's principal owners and key management and TCWG? Is there any indication that there will be an inappropriate limitation in scope of work, that they will be putting a limitation on scope of work that will be inappropriate, that is not appropriate? Is there any indication that we are getting? Whether the client is concerned that they should maintain our fees as low as possible, because if our fees will be low, we will be not able to work that much. Okay, and lastly, whether there are any indication that the client is involved in money laundering or any other criminal activities. If yes, if any of the answer is yes, then there is a integrity issue with the client. we need to consider, and if we are accepting the client, then we need to document how we have resolved those issues. Okay, yes sir. Now in this particular case, what can be the thing, how we will identify that this particular factor is involved here? Suppose money laundering, other criminal activities, we see that there is a search going on the company, there is a raid on the company, then the company is not acting according to the laws of the land, then the company is doing some malicious activities, that means it is not of integrity, and that's why we should not accept the company. So that way we have to think. I say, I will not ask directly, okay, what are the matters to be considered with regard to integrity of the client? Obviously, if he wants to make the paper easy, then he will ask, but not generally. He will definitely pick your particular points from your particular reasons, factors, and then they will make a case study around it, and then I'll ask you to give your own opinion. Okay, yes sir. Let's do question number 4. That is similar to that particular thing. Question number 4 says that the CAM is introduced to a prospective client. There is a prospective client. Now in that particular client, there is a search by Enforcement Directorate. ED has searched the premises of that particular client. Income Tax Department has also searched the premises of that particular client. Now the client has offered me to be a tax auditor in lieu of handsome fees. Handsome fees means many good amount of fees they are offering me to be a tax auditor of that particular client. Now what are the factors that we need to evaluate? What are the factors we need to evaluate? We need to evaluate about the integrity of the client. Here the main thing that is highlighted here is integrity, because there were searches by the different departments and they are offering us higher fees, which means that the client may not be of integrity. So as per SQC1, before accepting any engagement, we should look for the integrity of the client. And integrity, there's this particular point in integrity, that is indicate involvement in any money laundering or criminal activities. There is search of ED, there is you can say search of Income Tax Department. So it says that the client might be involved in money laundering or other criminal activities. Therefore the offer should not be accepted. Therefore we should not be the auditor of this particular client. Okay, yes sir. Okay, let's discuss about the next thing. Okay, first of all, it was integrity of the client. Now what are the matters we need to consider regarding the CCTR? Whether we have the CCTR or not, what matters will decide this. So for CCTR, you will just have to understand or remember those 4 points or those 4 words. From the 4 words we can identify the factors. First of all, regarding the capability, whether we have the capability or not, we have to see the knowledge and experience. Whether we have the knowledge of the industry in which the client operates, whether we have the experience of the PRL requirements that will be applicable to us if we are auditing that particular client. So if we have both the things, then we are capable. For competence, there is no factor. For time, we have to see whether we will be able to do the work within the deadline. The time means whether we will be able to do the work within the deadlines. Resources means whether we have sufficient personnel or not. Personnel means persons, whether we have sufficient human resources or not for this particular work. If we don't have those human resources, sufficient personnel, then whether we experts are available and whether EQCR are available. EQCR should be appointed or not if we don't have those sufficient personnel. Obviously this is just for your flow memory chart. The context of the keywords is different. Okay, yes sir. What is the context of the keyword? What are the matters to be considered? First of all, we should consider whether we have knowledge of relevant industry or not, whether we have experience of PRA requirements, or whether we have the ability to gain necessary skills and knowledge. Suppose currently we do not have the experience of PRA requirements, but we have the ability to gain the skills and knowledge of the particular required client, then we can obviously accept the client. Whether we are able to complete the engagement within the reporting deadline or not, whether the firm has sufficient personnel which has necessary capabilities and competence, whether experts are available if we need the experts, whether there are individuals who are meeting the criteria and eligibility of EQCR are available or not, because if they are not available, then we cannot accept that particular client if it is listed company. Okay, yes, so we have to consider all these things when we are considering whether we have the particular CCTR to perform the engagement or not. Okay, yes sir. Now suppose after accepting the engagement, I got to know about any of the information that had it been known earlier to me before accepting the engagement, I would have declined this offer. I would have not accepted the company. But since I didn't know about it prior to accepting the company, I accepted the company. But now, company means an audit. I accepted that audit. But now, after accepting the audit, I am getting to know about this kind of information. Then what should I do? So it says that matters to consider when information that would have caused you to decline the engagement has been received now. Then what should you do, sir? sir, you have to first consider your PRL requirements, PRL responsibilities, whether it is your responsibility to communicate with the people who have made your appointment, or you have to communicate with any of the regulatory authorities. And since if it had been known earlier, you wouldn't have accepted the engagement. So now, since it's known now, then you can definitely resign from the engagement. So we have to see whether there is any possibility of withdrawing or not, because you cannot just withdraw anyway and midway, and you cannot just withdraw it on any date. You have to follow rules. So there are rules made for withdrawals. Only if those rules and regulations are complied, then you can withdraw. So you have to see whether there is any possibility of withdrawing in that particular engagement or not. If there is possibility, then you have to see your policies on withdrawal. So before, you have to remember this through a breakup story. I thought my girlfriend is different from all. Meri wali alag hai. In Hindi we say meri wali alag hai. In English, my girlfriend is different from everyone. So I thought my girlfriend is different from everyone, but I got to know she is not. So now what I'm doing it, first of all, I will be discussing with my girlfriend. So here we will be discussing with the management. Okay, I thought this, I thought that, but you are not that, you are not this. So we'll be discussing. And after the discussion, the girlfriend says, okay, you want to leave, you can go. I don't want you. So after the discussion, if we think that it is appropriate to withdraw, then we will again consider our PRL responsibilities, whether we need to inform to those persons who have just set up both of us. There might be a mediator between both of us, our girlfriend and boyfriend. There will be a mediator between. So whether we need to communicate to those particular person who have set up us the appointment, who have done our appointment, whether we have to communicate to our regulatory authorities in that particular case, whether we have to communicate to our parents that we have finally broke up and now you can get us ready for the marriage, or anything like that. And secondly, we have to document all the significant issues. We will maintain a journal, our personal journal, where we will write all the issues that we had here with our previous GF, so that in next our potential girlfriend, we highlight, we see, consider prior hand that these significant issues are present or not, so that our relationship is longer. So we have to document all the significant issues with the client. Okay, yes sir. What does it say, sir? If there is a matter with to consider, matters what you need to consider when there is any information that would have caused you to decline the engagement has been received, then first of all you need to consider your PRL requirements, which means that whether the firm should report to any person who have made the appointment or any regulatory authorities. Then you have to consider the possibility of withdrawing from the engagement and client relationship. If you are able to, if there is a possibility, then you have to consider the policies on withdrawal. And then policies of withdrawal, first of all, you need to discuss with the client management and TCWG that what appropriate action that the firm might take in case of this particular information. If the firm determines that it is appropriate to withdraw, then we need to discuss again with the client management and TCWG that we are withdrawing from the engagement, and we need to give the reasons for our withdrawal. Obviously, we cannot just withdraw without giving any reason. We need to give the reasons of the withdrawal as well. Then we need to consider our PRL requirements to remain in place, or we need to report the withdrawal with reasons to the regulatory authorities. And lastly, we need to document all the significant issues, conclusions, and basis for conclusions that has happened till now. Okay, yes sir, this was the third element of SQC1 and SE220. Now let's jump on to the fourth element, which is the smallest element, that talks about human resources, that we should have sufficient human resources in our firm to perform all their engagements. Now the most important human resource in an audit engagement is engagement partner. So in human resources, we are talking about the responsibilities of the engagement partner. What does it say, sir? As an engagement partner, what is my responsibility? First of all, to check whether I have the CCTR or not to perform this engagement. What is CCTR? Competence, capabilities, time, and resources. Secondly, the engagement partner responsibility should be defined. Defined means it should be written somewhere, and the engagement partner should know that he has this responsibility. So it should be communicated to the engagement partner as well. It should be communicated to the client as well, the identity and role of the engagement partner. So there are 3 points in your human resources. Most important human resources engagement partner. So what does it say, sir? Policies and procedures for human resources, that the engagement partner should have appropriate CCTR, appropriate competence, capability, authority, and time to perform the role. Secondly, the responsibility of EP should be clearly defined and communicated to that particular partner, and the identity and role of EP should be communicated to clients management and TCWG as well. Okay, yes sir. Now here comes some particular thing. There is some SNQ2. What is SNQ2, sir? Just let me tell you. So this is September 25 new questions. So September 25 new questions, what does it mean? So basically in your concept book, in your question bank, if you see in the index, the question bank, then the printed version that you have received, there are 2 particular PDFs that are added in the last part of your part 1. last few pages of the part 1. One PDF is this particular new questions for September 25 RTP, MTP, May 25 previous year question, and the second PDF is for this particular topic, that is all the new questions of January 26 attempt. So basically we have just clubbed or combined these two particular PDF at the last of your part 1 of the question bank. If you have purchased the question bank little earlier, then it might be in your part 2 of the question bank. In the last few pages in the part 2 of the question bank, this particular PDF will be there, and there will be a printed separate booklet for this January 26 new questions. So basically what I'm saying is, if you have purchased the question bank recently, you would already be having these two PDF in the printed version. You just need to figure out where is the printed version is. If you are purchasing it in just after, you can say maybe 5th or 6th of February, after 5th or 6th February, if you are purchasing the question bank, then you will be having these all questions January 26 and September 25 at the last part of your part 1. If you are purchased before, then this September 25 will be at the last part of your part 2, and this question will be provided as a separate printed booklet to you. Okay, yes sir. So you need to refer from those particular questions as well, because obviously these questions are also part of your chapters. So currently we are doing from the September 25 new question. You have to open this September 25 new questions from your particular printed booklet. So September 25 new question, we are doing question number 2. Question number 2 from September 25 new question. This is the particular reference SNQ, that is September 25 new question and question number 2. Okay, yes sir. So what does it say, sir? It say that we are doing statutory audit for the last 7 years. Since the last 7 years, a particular engagement partner is doing the statutory audit. CX, who is the engagement partner, the quality control reviewer or the EQCR, quality control reviewer means QCR, that is engagement QCR, insisted to change the engagement partner. Why it insisted to change the engagement partner? Because we have already read that the engagement partner can be mostly or majorly or maximum for 7 years. He cannot be more than 7 years, cannot be an engagement partner of the same client for more than 7 years. Okay, yes sir. The management of the company does not wish to change the engagement partner. Client is saying please don't change the engagement partner, we have a close relationship with the engagement partner. Why? That is the particular reason why we are changing the engagement partner. So management, even if management is denying to change the engagement partner, we have the responsibility to change the engagement partner. Okay, yes sir. Now what are the policies and procedures in respect of an engagement partner? What are the policies and procedures in respect of an engagement partner? That's why this particular question also covers this fourth element of human resources, because it is asking about the policies and procedures of engagement partner. So what does it say, sir? First of all, we will say that as a SQC1, there is a familiarity threat. When is the familiarity threat? When we are using same senior personnel on assurance engagement over prolonged period of time. So basically what we need to do is, familiarity threat is where in case of listed companies, what we need to do is we need to rotate the engagement partner for not more than 7 years. After not more than 7 years, we need to rotate the engagement partner, except in case of sole proprietorship. Okay, yes sir. Okay, so in the given situation, what happened, we have written here, and in the given situation you have to just mention in maximum 2 to 3 lines. In view of SQC1, they have said that since CAX is the engagement partner for 7 years now, so he cannot be engagement partner for more than 1 year. So basically he need to change the engagement partner, and we don't need to understand, or we don't need to concerned about the management's quality or management's wish that the engagement partner should be same. Okay, yes sir. They should implement a policy of mandatory partner rotation. Okay, yes sir. And the last question that they had asked is the policies and procedure in respect of engagement partner. What is the policy and procedure, sir? First of all, we have to the engagement partner has the appropriate CCTR. The roles of the engagement partner should be clearly defined and communicated to that partner, and the identity and role of the engagement partner is communicated to the client's owners as well. Okay, yes sir. This was September 25 new questions, question number 2. Oh, okay, yes sir. Now comes the most important element of our SQC1 and SL220, that is element number 5. There are talks about engagement performance. In that particular topic, the most important topic is EQCR that we are going to discuss. So what does fixed element the engagement performance says is, first of all, okay, let me scroll down. Okay, yeah. So this is engagement performance. It says that in case of any difficult or contentious matters. What does it mean by contentious, sir? Contentious means any controversial matter where any of the parties is not agreeing. So we have done is, what we have done is, in any of your jargon terms, any of the difficult terms which we do not use in common English language, what we have done is we have written the meaning of that particular word in bracket in our concept book, so that you don't have to every time when you're revising SQ7 and SA220, you don't have to check what does counter contentious means. We have written the similar word in the bracket only. Okay, yes sir, but in exams you have to write this keyword. Okay, yes sir. So what does it say? That in case as an engagement partner, if we are facing any difficulty, if we are facing any contentious matters, then we can take consultations, because we are also human, we have our limitations as well. We might do not know about everything. So if there is any difficult matter, if there is any contentious matter, then we can take consultation, and this consultation can be taken from the persons which are within our firm or which are outside our firm as well. So we can take consultations from people who are outside our firm as well. This is the main particular thing, that this consultation about difficult or contentious matters can be taken place from within the firm persons and outside firm persons as well. Okay, yes sir. And now in that particular fifth element, there is your most important topic, that is engagement quality control reviewer, and that is your engagement partner's tension. Why it is an EP tension, sir? Why it is engagement partner's tension? Because see, as an engagement partner, I have all the authority, I have all the responsibility for maintaining quality on my audit. So I get to decide anything and everything that is happening in audit. Now when there is an EQCR is also one level above the engagement partner. So in a way, EQCR is also reviewing engagement partner's work as well. EQCR has the responsibility to review all the things about that particular audit engagement. So now EP also has a pressure, EP also has to remember, EP also has to consider that he needs to work with quality so that EQCR can review and give a unqualified judgment. Okay, yes sir. So who is an EQCR, sir? First of all, it is a MCQ question that the EQCR should be member of ICI. That is, only a chartered accountant can be an EQCR of a audit. Okay, yes sir, first of all. Secondly, the EQCR should be suitably qualified external person to the team. What does it mean, sir? Can the EQCR be of the same audit engagement team? No sir. From the team we cannot appoint anyone as EQCR. EQCR should be outside from the team, and he should be suitably qualified person. Now, can EQCR be from outside the firm? Yes, the EQCR can be from outside the firm as well. The EQCR can be from inside the firm as well. But the EQCR should not be the part of the team of audit engagement. Okay, yes sir, but it should be suitably qualified. Can EQCR be a single person or a group of person? It can be either. Either a single person can be appointed as an EQCR, either as a team of individuals can be appointed as an EQCR. Okay, yes sir. In a listed company cases, it is said that the listed company case, the EQCR should have experience and the authority to act as engagement partner. It says that if we are auditing the listed entity, then we cannot appoint anyone as the EQCR. The EQCR should have an experience to be an engagement partner of the listed entity. The EQCR should have the authority to act as an engagement partner of that particular listed entity. Then only we can hire that particular person as an EQCR in case of listed entity. Okay, yes sir. Now when we need to hire EQCR, first of all, for all the listed entities, whenever we are auditing any listed entity, EQCR is mandatory. This is MCQ point here. Look at here, we are saying that EQCR is mandatory in case of listed entities, and for other non-listed entities, it depends on firm's criteria. So firm should devise its own criteria. Suppose the criteria is all the companies having turnover of 50 crore or more, we need to hire EQCR. Then accordingly, we will need to follow that criteria for non-listed entities. But for listed entities, every listed entity, we need to hire one EQCR. That is mandatory. Okay, yes sir. Now I told you that EQCR has the responsibility of reviewing the quality control of that particular engagement. Now tell me, can the EQCR identify, or the EQCR review everything that is done by the audit engagement team? No sir, because EQCR doesn't have months to do his work. He just have few days to do his work or do his review. So basically what does EQCR does is, he doesn't review everything, all the audit documentation of that particular engagement team. His main work is to review significant judgments made by the audit engagement team. Any of your so basically in audit we make many judgments about how the client is functioning, how the client is going, whether we need to keep the risk of material misstatement high, medium, low, whether we want to perform more procedures or less procedures. So many judgments we are making, but out of those judgments, the significant judgments that are made by the audit engagement team are reviewed by the EQCR. Now tell me, so if I'm an article and if my senior reviews my work, then I am relieved, because if there anything goes wrong, then I can definitely blame my senior that the senior has already reviewed my work. He didn't he didn't review it this way, so I didn't know about it. But so EP also thinks that, okay, I have one person who is above me and he is reviewing my work, so I have my responsibility is reduced, and the EQCR has the responsibility. If anything goes wrong, then I will blame on the EQCR that EQCR is reviewed, but he didn't consider all of this. So that is not the case here. The audit, engagement partner has the sole responsibility as an auditor. Engagement partner's responsibility is not reduced by appointing an EQCR. Okay, yes sir, he cannot blame the EQCR. He has all the authority and responsibility skill after appointment of EQCR. Okay, yes sir, let's understand this much. So we are saying EQCR, we are saying first of all engagement performance. Fifth element it says that the consultation can take place in difficult or contentious, that is controversial matters, with individuals within the firm as well and outside the firm as well. Okay, yes sir. Now let's come to the topic of EQCR, that is engagement quality control review. It says that the EQCR should be a member of the ICA, that is, he should be a CA. It can be internal or suitably qualified external person. Suitably qualified meaning what? He should have the capabilities and competence to act as an engagement partner. So he should have that capability and competence to act as an engagement partner if he wants to be an EQCR. And we cannot do, okay, some CA who just became a CA a few years before and we are hiring him as an EQCR of a listed entity. We cannot do that. Okay, yes sir, because he doesn't have the experience as an engagement partner of the listed entity. It can be an individual or a team made up of such individual. For audit of listed entity, the EQCR should have sufficient and appropriate experience and authority to act as an engagement partner of listed entities. Okay, yes sir. The EQCR, what does an EQCR do, sir? It reviews a significant judgment in an engagement, but it does not reduce the responsibilities of engagement partner. It is mandatory for audit of listed entities, and for others the firm should form its own criteria for EQCR. Let's do question number 10. What does the question number 10 say, sir? Question number 10 is here, and question number 10 says that, so there is basically some issue pertaining to a particular index applicability, whether this index is particularly applicable to this company or not. This query has been sent to the ICI and the issue was resolved. And since the company says that we have obtained the expert opinion from ICAI, therefore the appointment of EQCR has lost its relevance. We do not need to appoint an EQCR now because we have obtained the opinion from ICAI itself. Is this right? No, we haven't read anywhere that, okay, if you obtain an expert opinion, then you don't need to hire EQCR. EQCR is mandatory in case of a listed company. So EQCR is listed company is mandatory requirement. Expert opinion of ICI is basis just for the interpretation. The appointment of reviewer is a separate and mandatory requirements. Okay, yes sir, if you are obtaining an expert opinion, that is not considered when appointing EQCR. Okay, yes sir, appointment of EQCR is mandatory in case of listed entity. Yes sir. Now here we talk about SQC1, here we talk about SC220. First of all, let's talk about SQC1. What does SQC1 say, sir? So whenever an EQCR is hired, can an engagement partner consult with the EQCR? Because engagement partner can consult in difficult or contentious matter. So can an engagement partner consult with EQCR? It says that yes, EQCR engagement partner can consult with the EQCR. EQCR can be consulted, but we need to ensure, the engagement partner need to ensure that the EQCR is objective. The EQCR should not participate in the audit. The EQCR should not make decisions for the audit engagement team. So why it is so? Because if the EQCR is consulted frequently for significant judgments, if the EQCR says, okay, you have to do particular audit in this particular way. Now, if the EQCR has made this decision and afterwards when the EQCR is reviewing whether the audit was conducted correctly or not, and he is reviewing his own decision, then he will not be able to find any faults. So here it says, if you want to consult, you may consult the EQCR, but it should not compromise the objectivity or eligibility of the EQCR. Objectivity means basically avoidance of any conflict of interest, biasness. The EQCR should not be biased. He should be impartial. There should be no conflict of interest in anything and everything. So we should not compromise the objectivity and eligibility. We can consult. There is no restriction on consulting, but you need to ensure that the EQCR is objective. Okay, yes sir. Now there is some MCQ point which is not given in your ICI module, but yeah, that is asked by ICI and MCQs. First of all, EP himself cannot appoint an EQCR. Do you think that we can appoint our own reviewer? No sir, obviously. If it is possible, then we will appoint our own copy checkers, and when we will appoint our own copy checkers, the copy checkers will give it 100 marks, and then we will just clear the CA exam. So that is not the case. We cannot appoint our own reviewer. So EP himself cannot appoint the EQCR. Then who appoints the EQCR? EQCR is appointed according to the firm's quality control systems and policies. Okay, yes sir. Next thing, just like I told you that the first of all, there is an appointment letter sent by the company to the engagement partner accepts and then sends the engagement letter to the client. In that particular way, there is a formal engagement letter between EQCR and engagement partner as well. It is not based on oral discussions, mutual understanding. It is based on a formal engagement letter between EQCR and engagement partner, highlighting all the responsibilities of both the parties. Okay, yes sir. Now, if we said that there should be no significant consultation between EP and EQCR, it says that we have to take any significant consultation. If EP is not able to decide something and he want to take significant consultation, then he should ensure that the EQCR is objective after taking that consultation as well. If he thinks that the EQCR will not remain objective after taking this significant consultation, then he should hire another person as an EQCR, or he should hire another person for taking consultation. But EQCR and significant consultation cannot go hand in hand. Either appoint another EQCR or either consult another person. Okay? Yes sir. So this was particular case in case of consultation. So what does it say here? First of all, the EQCR should be objective. EQCR should not participate in engagement and he should not make decisions for the team. EP, if he wants, he may consult. He may, there is the option given to EP. He may consult with the EQCR during the engagement, but he should not compromise his objectivity and eligibility for the role. If consultations become significant, EQCR should remain objective. If remaining objective is not possible, then there should be another individual who should be appointed as EQCR or should be consulted. Another person should be consulted. Okay, yes sir. Let's read question number 9. What does it say, sir? It says that there are related party transaction. The engagement partner wants to consult EQCR on this matter during the course of audit process itself. And during the audit, the engagement partner wants to consult EQCR. Can he consult with the EQCR? Yes, he can consult with the EQCR, but we need to maintain the objectivity of the reviewer, and the participation or making decisions should be avoided. EQCR should not participate or make decisions. However, engagement partner may consult EQCR, but it should not compromise his objectivity and eligibility. So same things which we have read. The question is answer is given all the provisions. Okay, yes sir. Now next thing is, what are the matters that need to be considered by EQCR for audit of listed entities? What does EQCR actually do? What are the matters that as an EQCR I need to consider when I am auditing the listed entity? Here specifically it's mentioned listed entity. In case of listed entities, all these things are considered by EQCR. What are the things that are considered by EQCR? So first of all, as an EQCR, I have to review what? Significant judgments. Okay, yes sir, this is my overall responsibility. So before reviewing significant judgments or before doing anything, the first and foremost important thing that I will check as an EQCR is independence. Because if the team is not independent, then there is no point in checking the quality control systems, because I am sure the team might have not worked with the quality. So first and foremost thing that I have to check as an EQCR is independence, whether the team is independent or not. If I get to know that the team is not independent, then there is a significant risk. What is significant risk? There is a big risk. While if I get to know that the audit team is not independent, now this risk is significant, is big, is important. How do we know that this risk is significant or not, this risk is not significant? Based on our judgment. Based on our judgment, we decide whether the risk is significant risk or not, and then based on our judgment we decide whether the misstatement is significant or not. So based on judgment we decide risk is significant or not. Based on judgment we decide misstatement is significant or not. If we find any significant misstatement, material misstatement, significant means material misstatement. If we find any significant misstatement, then we select the working papers of the audit engagement team. What is our working paper, sir? Audit documentation that the team has prepared. We have to select the working papers of the audit engagement team where there is significant misstatement, and we have to check whether appropriate consultations and appropriate conclusions have taken place or not. We have to check why this significant misstatement is there, whether we have not taken the appropriate consultations. We have to check, and then in consultations we have to communicate to management and TCWG as well why we are doing everything, sir, to ensure that the reports that we are providing are appropriate in the circumstances. This is the flow in which you can remember all the matters that need to be considered by EQCR in case of listed entities. What are the matters, sir? First of all, we have to evaluate firm's independence for that particular specific engagement, whether the team is independent or not. Secondly, significant risk. What are the significant risks risks that are identified and what are the responses to those risks. What is the responses, sir? There is a risk assessment procedure, and after identifying the risk, after assessing the risk, we perform further audit procedure to respond to those risks. So we need to see what are the responses to those risks. Next, we need to see what are the judgments made, particularly how you decided the materiality level, how you decided the significant risk. Next, we have to see what the misstatements, the significance of the misstatements identified during the engagement. What is the significance? How much important misstatements you have identified during the audit? What are the misstatements that were corrected and uncorrected? Some misstatements, okay, I got to know about a misstatement, I told management and management corrected the misstatement. Some misstatement I told about the management didn't correct the misstatement. So corrected and uncorrected misstatements, what is the significance of them? Next, whether the working papers were selected for review, performed for specific significant judgments, because significant judgments are our main thing. So you have to select the working papers for reviewing the significant judgments and whether the conclusions were reached or not. Next, we have to check whether appropriate consultations were taken place. What are the conclusions arising from the consultation? Next, we have to check what are the matters which we need to consider as an EQCR to management and TCWG. And lastly, we have to check the appropriateness of the report to be issued, whether the reports were appropriate or not. Okay, yes sir. Now let's talk about SA 220. SA 220, the first point is, what is the engagement partner's responsibility with respect to EQCR? For EQCR, what is the responsibility of an engagement partner? As an engagement partner, my responsibility is first of all to check whether EQCR is appointed or not. Because if EQCR is not appointed, then there is no point in reading everything. So basically, first of all, we have to check whether the EQCR is appointed or not. If EQCR is appointed, then our responsibility is to discuss significant matters with the EQCR. Okay, because he is our reviewer. So we will have to discuss the significant matters with the EQCR. And third and foremost, an important thing is, before signing my audit report, before putting a date on my audit report, the EQCR should be completed. The EQCR review should be completed. We should not provide any report till the completion of EQCR. Only after the completion of EQCR, we can provide a report. That is a most important thing. Now, what does it signify, sir? So basically, we will read everything about this in terms of date of report and everything about in SA 700. But just to give you a gist, so basically, we prepare an audit report. You know about it as we prepare an audit report. And in the report, we write date. Suppose we write the date as 31st March 2025. So this date on the auditor's report signify that we have obtained all of the sufficient and appropriate audit evidence required in this particular audit engagement as on this date. Till this date, we obtained everything that is required to give us an opinion. So now this is saying you cannot date the auditor's report until the completion of EQCR, which indirectly means that completion of EQCR is a sufficient and appropriate audit evidence for us. Without that, we cannot say that we have obtained sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. So that is the significance that this signify, that whenever we are dating the auditor's report, we should date the auditor's report only after the completion of EQCR. Only then we can say that we have obtained sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. Okay, yes sir, this is just a gist of your 700, SA 700, which we will discuss eventually. Okay, yes sir, so these are three responsibilities of engagement partner. What are the three responsibilities, sir? First of all, determine that EQCR has been appointed. Second, discuss significant matters with the EQCR. And third, not date the auditor's report until completion of EQCR. One question is there that you will need to understand. You will better understand what I am trying to say. So here it says, the fifth question number, it says that the auditor's report date is 15th May 2023. Okay, yes sir. EQCR completed on 18th May 2023. And engagement partner completed his reviews 12th May 2023. Obviously, engagement partner will do his review, EQCR will do his review, and then we will issue an auditor's report. Here what it says that, okay, so before giving our auditor's report on 15th May, we had already completed the engagement partner review, but the EQCR review was completed after your audit report date. It is correct or not? No, sir, it is not correct. We need to first complete our EQCR review, and then after we need to put a date on our report. Okay, yes. So what does it say, sir? First of all, we will describe the engagement partner's responsibility with respect to EQCR as per SA 220. These 3 points which we have discussed. Now, there is an important thing about SA 700. We will quote SA 700 here because I told you that SA 700 specifies this particular thing, that the audit's report should not be dated unless we have obtained sufficient and appropriate auditor's opinion on the basis of which we provide our auditor's opinion. Okay, yes sir. Now in conducting the EQCR, it is a, maybe you can say that it is a without this we cannot say that we have obtained sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. So in this case, what happened, we will definitely specify in the given situation the engagement quality control review was finalized by 18th May, which is later than the date of the audit report. Therefore, the date of the auditor's report is not correct. We will specify conclude. Okay, yes sir. So this is an important thing that is new to you for now. Okay, yes sir. Chaliye. Next is SNQ1. SNQ1 is September 9, November 25, September 25, new questions 1. Okay, what does the new question 1 say? Big Four firm withdrew from the engagement citing scope limitation. So basically there is a company and it has an auditor. It has an auditor which has a Big Four. Big Four is KPMG, Deloitte, PwC and EY. You know everything about that. So Big Four withdrew from that particular audit engagement citing that there were scope limitations. The company was not allowing him to work inside the scope of the audit. So now and we as an auditor lack experience in pharma R&D. The company is in pharma R&D and we as an auditor lack experience in pharma R&D, and we are under the pressure to complete the audit on time. We have accepted the audit, and then we have a pressure to complete the audit on time, and for completing the audit of time we are not following the standard procedures. So basically there is a company whose Big Four auditors have retired, and now we have accepted the audit, and now when we are doing audit, we are no more experience in doing the audit of this particular client, and we have already the pressure of completing the audit on time. So we are just not following the standard procedures. So now, in light of everything that I have discussed, analyze the quality controlled considerations that we must evaluate before continuing with the engagement. Acceptance and continuance of engagement. So before continuing the engagement, what all things we need to consider, and lastly, what are the actions we should take to uphold the audit quality and professional standards. Okay, this is an RTP September 25 question. What does it say, sir? First of all, as per SQC1, first of all, here, what the main thing here is, we don't have the competence. Why we don't have the competence? Because we don't have the experience in pharma R&D. We don't have the experience in pharma R&D, so we lack a competence. So we will just specify all the matters relating to the CCTR. So what they have done is, as per SQC1, firm should have CCTR. CCTR means what, sir? Capabilities, relevant industries, knowledge we should have the experience of the PRL requirements. In time, are we able to complete the time within the reporting deadline, and resources, whether we have the sufficient personnel, if no, whether we have the expert, if no, whether we have the EQCR or not. So basically we remembered all the points through this particular memory technique. Now, under SA 220, what does it say under SA 220? That the firm should obtain necessary information before accepting an engagement, that we should obtain all the information, acceptance and continuance of client relationship, that particular part it says. Information like integrity, we have to obtain integrity, we have to obtain about the client, competence of ourselves, we have to consider whether we will be able to comply with the relevant ethical requirements, whether there are any significant matters arisen during the current and previous audit engagement. So this is the particular thing based on as per SA 220. And now, as per SQC1, they have highlighted, they have particularly detailed the CCTR part in it. Okay, yes sir, this is obviously we have considered, we have read in the third element, acceptance and continuance of client relationship. Now, what it is saying, in the given case, what has happened here is the question is highlighted in 4 points, that this was the case, and lastly, and at the last it says that the CA Rashi must not proceed with the engagement. He should not proceed. CA Rashi should not proceed with the engagement because Big Four has just withdrawn and we are not competent enough to perform this engagement. So we should not proceed with the engagement unless all the conditions of SQC1 and SA 220 are met. For meeting all the condition, what should we do, sir? We should assess whether we have the capability, and if we don't have the capability, then whether we need to hire the experts or not. We should understand why the Big Four has withdrawn. We should know now why the previous auditor is withdrawn. We should ensure that there is a qualified reviewer who is reviewing, and the review should be completed before issuing the audit report. If we are doing everything, then this will help us to maintain quality and ensure the professional compliance with the PRL requirements and protect firms from regulatory precautions. So basically this is saying what they have done is they have described the CCTR, they have described your third element, they have given in the given stage what it is, and then they have described what can be done. And this particular part is they have written what they are from their own words. They have basically written from their own words. And this is all these questions will obviously maximum 2 or 3 questions you will find in your exams which are based on your own words. The answer will be based on your own words, and you have to first of all ignore those questions, and then at the end of the exam you have to write the answers of those particular questions based on all your understanding. Okay, yes sir. So this is your engagement partner responsibility with respect to EQCR. Now what I have told you that the EQCR has the responsibility to review significant judgment. So when the EQCR is evaluating the significant judgment, what we have to do is, first of all, the significant judgment will mostly be made by the engagement partner. So the EQCR will go to the engagement partner and discuss with the engagement partner about the significant judgment that are made by him. Engagement partner will obviously say my all significant judgment are correct, and we take significant judgments very seriously and everything. We don't care about engagement partner. We should not just rely on the engagement partner. If engagement partner says everything is correct, then we need to review the documentation. Now what documentation we need to review, sir? Matlab means what documentation we need to review, sir? We need to review your financial statements and auditor's report. Financial statements I understand, because we need to check what are the financial statements. Obviously audit is of financial statements, so we'll need to review our financial statements. Why we need to review auditor's reports, sir? To see that the conclusions that are there in the auditor's report, are they appropriate or not? So these are the 4 things that I need to do as an EQCR when I'm evaluating the significant judgments. What are the 4 things that I need to do, sir? First of all, I need to discuss significant matters with EP. He says everything is correct, then I need to review the selected documentation relating to significant judgments. Reviewing documentation means what? Reviewing your financial statements and auditor's report. And financial statements is okay, but why auditor's report? So that we can check whether the conclusions are we need to evaluate whether the conclusions are correct or not, whether the auditor's report is appropriate or not. Now questions should raise in your mind. You have told that we cannot date the auditor's report prior to the completion of EQCR. We need to complete EQCR, then only we can date the report. And now you are saying that we need to review auditor's report as well. How can this both be true? So here what we need to review is the proposed auditor's report, the draft auditor's report that the engagement partner is already prepared. We need to review those draft auditor's report, and then we need to give our basically approval to go ahead. And then it will be a final audit report after we complete our review. Okay, yes sir. Now there are some matters to be considered by EQCR in case of listed entities. Wait, you told what are the matters to be considered by EQCR in listed entities, sir? Here are also the matters considered by EQCR in case of listed entity. In question, if the question comes in exam, which matter will we write? Will we write this matter or these matters? I told you, when you have confusion between 2 of the answers, you should mention both of the answers. So here we will do the same thing. If I ask you what are the matters to be considered by EQCR in case of listed entities, you will write all these points and you will write these points as well. Based on the correct answer, you will get all the marks. So don't worry about it. Okay, yes sir. So here as per SA 220, what are the matters, sir? They are similar as per SQC1, because in SQC1 the first matter was the first and foremost thing that EQCR has to check is independence, whether the audit team is independent or not. Secondly, consultations and their conclusions. And third, significant judgments and their conclusion. So these 3 things are going to be considered by EQCR in case of listed entity as per SA 220. Okay, yes sir. Now as per SQC1 and SA220 both, what is the documentation that EQCR should maintain? Yes, as an EQCR, I need to maintain my own documentation as well, so that I can prove that I have done my EQCR very correctly. I have done my review very correctly. So in the documentation, what should I mention, sir? First of all, what procedures did I perform as an EQCR? Were the procedures that I performed were completed before the audit or not? Because it's my responsibility also to complete my procedures before the audit is completed. And thirdly, while performing procedures, whether I got to know about unresolved matters or not. Unresolved matters regarding what, sir? So we need to check. This is a very twisted term. What does it say is, we as an EQCR, we are not aware of any unresolved matter that causes us to believe that the significant judgments were not appropriate. So if we cut this not, which means that the significant judgments were appropriate. We have to specify that the significant judgments were appropriate, but we are not specifying it directly. We are specifying it indirectly. How we are specifying? That we were not aware of any unresolved matter that causes us to believe that significant judgments were not appropriate, which means that significant judgments were appropriate. Okay, yes sir. These 3 things we have to mention in our audit document, EQCR documentation. What are the exactly 3 things, sir? First of all, EQCR documentation, procedures that are required by the firm's policies, they have been performed. Secondly, EQCR were completed before the report is issued. And thirdly, that we were not aware of any unresolved matter that would cause us to believe that the significant judgments and conclusions were not appropriate. Okay, yes sir, we have to do question number 11. What's question number 11 says is, question number 11, where is question number 11? Here is question number 11. Question number 11 is all about where it is. Here it is. So it says that the engagement partner says that the matters related to independent assessment are the responsibility of engagement partner and not EQCR. Engagement partner says that the independence assessment is only to be done by me. EQCR doesn't have the responsibility to independently assess. And now the EQCR is objecting to this and refused to sign off the documentation. EQCR is saying I will not sign off the documentation. So here engagement partner is wrong, because we have just read in as per SA 220 that matters to be considered by EQCR in that particular one thing. First of all, we have to obtain, okay. So what they are doing is they are classifying, or they are specifying both the answers. They are saying as per SA 220, EP also has the responsibility to evaluate the independence, and EQCR also has the responsibility to evaluate the independence. So here EP is wrong. EP is partially correct. He has the responsibility to evaluate the independence, but EQCR also has the responsibility to evaluate the independence. So here we are mentioning SA 220 as second element, that is ethical requirements, that EP has the responsibility that he should obtain relevant information of the firm, he should evaluate the information or identified breaches, he should take appropriate action to eliminate the threats or reduce them to the acceptable level, or everything that we discussed in the second element, ethical requirements, is mentioned here. Next, the engagement partner should take the responsibility in the form. And as per SA 220, the audit of financial statements of listed entity, EQCR also has to consider the evaluation of firm's independence. So here EP is not right. The independent assessment documentation should be given to EQCR for his review. EQCR also has the responsibility, and EP also has the responsibility. To EQCR should get the review document. It should get to review the documentation of independence. Okay. Yes, sir. Here, look at here. Next question is September 25 previous year question. Now this September 25 previous year question is a new questions January 26 booklet. September 25 new questions. Here is September 25 new questions. Just a second. Yes. On page number, where is this? Here it is. On page number 10, there is September 25 previous and new question. Question number 1. What does it say, sir? It says that there is a CA who has recently qualified as a chartered accountant, and he accepted his first appointment to act as an EQCR for a listed entity. Can a newly qualified CA be an EQCR of a listed entity? No, sir. Why no? Because he should have the appropriate experience and authority to act as an engagement partner in case of a listed entity. But here it doesn't have. So he cannot be an EQCR. Secondly, he made no further documentation. Is EQCR required to make any documentation? Yes, we just discussed he need to maintain 3 things in his documentation. And in this case, this EQCR doesn't maintain any documentation. So comment on the act of CAA, that is the EQCR. So we will say that as per SQC1, we will say, or we will specify all the requirements of EQCR, that the EQCR should be a member of ICI, should be suitably qualified external person, should have the capabilities and competence to act as an EQCR in case of a listed entity. In addition, if it is an EQCR of listed entity, then it should have sufficient and appropriate experience and authority to attend an engagement partner of listed entity. In the given case, what happened, we have written. And lastly, we concluded that therefore it is not appropriate for CAA to accept the assignment of EQCR. CAA should not accept the assignment of EQCR, but it has accepted, so it is wrong. First of all, we have mentioned that EQCR appointment is wrong. Secondly, we will mention that documentation which is not prepared is also wrong, because documentation is also required to be prepared. As an EQCR, we need to document what procedures we perform, what procedures were required, and have we performed this procedure before the completion of the before the date of the auditor's report, and we were not aware of any unresolved matters. Okay, yes sir, these 3 things we need to document, and in the given situation the EQCR has not documented this act as well. So act of CAA of only signing of few working papers is not correct. He should have mentioned the documentation as well, maintain the documentation as well. Okay, yes sir. Now here ICI has given this. Okay, so this was asked in your September 25 exams. So ICI has given this answer as well, which is logically correct, and ICI has given an alternative solution as well. In alternative solution, what ICI has added, it has added as per SA 220, we have just read about the evaluation of significant judgments. When the EQCR is reviewing the significant judgments, what all things is considered is, he discussed the matters with the significant matter, he discussed the significant matters with the engagement partner, he review audit documentation, in audit documentation he review financial statements and auditor's report. In auditor's report, they review the conclusions, whether the conclusions reached are appropriate or not. So basically, these things the ICI has added in this particular alternative solution. It has removed this part altogether. This part is replaced by basically this part, and rest of the documentation is obviously same. Okay, yes sir. I don't know why I said did this, because this is not a logical answer according to me. This is a perfectly logical answer according to me. Okay, yes sir. Chaliye. Next, what you have to discuss is engagement partner documentation. As per SA 220, engagement partner also has to document something. What does an engagement partner need to document, sir? Every element that you need to understand, or you need to identify. First, we discuss. First, we have to mention about the third element, that is acceptance and continuance. Acceptance and continuance, engagement partner has to document whether it accepted and whether it continued, what were the matters that he considered in case of acceptance and continuance. Everything we have to mention and document. If we accepted and continued the client, then we need to check whether we complied with the independence of not. When we are accepting or continuing with the client, we have to check whether we are complying with independence or not. If we are not complying with the independence, then it is an issue. And if there is an issue, then how with the issue well resolved? How we resolve the issue, and while resolving the issue, whether we took any consultation or not. If yes, then what are the nature and scope of the consultations that will take place. So here there are 4 things that we need to document as an engagement partner. What were the 4 things that we need to document? First of all, what are our conclusions regarding the acceptance and continuance? What are the conclusions regarding the independence requirements? What are the issues in compliance with ethical requirements and how we have resolved them? And lastly, what is the nature and scope of the consultations that we have taken during the course of audit? Okay, yes sir. Now last point regarding the AQCR, that is difference of opinion. What is difference of opinion, sir? So basically we told you that engagement partner can take consultations in case of difficult or contentious matters within or outside the firm. Suppose the engagement partner has went to another partner for taking consultation, and the another partner has given his opinion, but the engagement partner is not agreeing to the opinion given by the other partner. Then can the engagement partner follow his own opinion and give the audit report, since the engagement partner has the ultimate authority and responsibility? No sir. If engagement partner is consulting someone and that consultation or the person who is giving his opinion is not matched with the engagement partner's opinion, then we cannot give our auditor's report until we resolve the differences. Until the difference of opinion is resolved, until the other person also agrees to our opinion, or we agree to their opinion, or we agree to a common opinion. Unless this happens, we cannot issue an auditor's report. So it says in case of difference of opinion, if this difference of opinion can be between any of the persons, can be between EP versus the EQCR saying something else and EP saying something else, can be between EP and his own engagement team member, can be between EP and persons to whom the EP consulted. So anything, if there is a difference of opinion between any of the persons, then you need to provide your audit report only after resolution of differences. EP cannot say, okay, I am the sole authority and the responsibility of the audit, so whatever I will say, it will be done. No. EP has to resolve the difference of opinion, only then he can issue an auditor's report. Now, if EP's recommendation is not accepted by the EQCR and EQCR is not satisfied with the EP solution, and there is a deadlock in the situation because EP is not agreeing to EQCR, EQCR is not agreeing to EP, and everything and anything, so there is a deadlock of situation. So what it is written that you need to resolve this difference of opinion using established procedures of the firm. The firm should establish procedures for resolving all these kind of difference of opinion, and you need to follow those procedures that are established by the firm. Now, what procedure firm can establish? Firm can say, okay, you need to hire another firm, you need to consult with another practitioner, you need to consult with regulatory authority, you need to consult with professional body. Anything that can be said by the firm, you need to follow that particular established procedure and get your difference of opinion resolved, and only after that you can provide your auditor's report. Okay, yes sir, this can come in MCQ, that it is solved using established procedures of firm. So what does it say? Sir, difference of opinion within the team can be there with those consultant, and between EP and NQCR there can be difference. A report should be made only after resolution of difference. Without resolving difference, you cannot issue a report. If recommendations of EQCR are not accepted by EP, or if the matter is not resolved to the EQCR satisfaction, then it should be resolved by following established procedures of the firm. Now, what does an established procedure mean? It can be consulting with another practitioner, another partner, another firm, another professional body, or regulatory body. Okay, yes sir. Let's do a question. Question number 8. What does question number 8 say, sir? Where is question number 8? Question number 8. Here is question number 8. So it says that engagement partner is not willing to accept the recommendations of reviewer. How can the stalemate be ended? How can the deadlock situation be ended if EQCR, EP is not willing to accept the recommendation of EQCR? Then we have to follow the established established procedures of the firm. Like we can consult with another practitioner or firm or a professional or regulatory body, as the case may be. Okay, yes sir. Okay, let's move on to the next topic. What does the next topic? The last element of quality control system, that is monitoring. Just designing and implementing the quality control system is not enough. We need to monitor whether the quality control system is working as designed, working as suggested or not. So basically, first of all, what does monitoring actually mean? What does monitoring actually mean, sir? Here it is given that we need to check whether the quality control system is relevant, adequate, operating effectively, and it is complied or not. So in monitoring, what do we do is, monitoring actually means is checking design and implementation of quality control system. We need to check whether the design of quality control system is appropriate or not, and whether the quality control system is effectively implemented or not. So effectively implemented, if we keep it aside, if we just talk about the appropriate design, when we will say that the quality control system is appropriately designed, when we can see that if there are any new developments in our PRL requirements, new changes in our PRL requirements, and these new developments are automatically updated in the quality control system, automatically reflected in the quality control system, then we can say that the quality control system is appropriately designed. Now, whose responsibility is to update the new developments in PRL to the QCS? Engagement partners. Engagement partner is the responsibility to do this updation. Engagement partner also has the responsibility to deal with all the complaints and allegations that are made against the firm or the employees of the firm by within or outside the entity. We have to deal with all the complaints and allegation. Engagement partner has to deal with complaints and allegation. How he will deal with the complaint and allegation? First of all, he will take appropriate remedial actions. Appropriate remedial actions can be taken of two types. First of all, either the personnel who is responsible for QCS is not working properly, then we need to take appropriate remedial actions for the personnel, or either the quality control system is in itself defective, so we need to take appropriate remedial actions to correct the quality control system. These are the 6 things or 6 factors that we need to consider when we are checking the monitoring of quality control system. What are the 6 factors that we need to consider, sir? First of all, when we are deciding whether the quality control system has been appropriately designed and effectively implemented. In design, we will check whether there are new developments in PRL requirements which are reflected in the QCS. Whose responsibility is? We need to conduct monitoring by assigning the responsibility. We need to assign the responsibility of monitoring to the partner or any other person who has sufficient appropriate experience and authority. And engagement partner also has the responsibility to deal with all the complaints and allegations against any firm or against any of the employees says that we are not complying with any of the professional standards, who has complained within the firm, or it can be outside the firm as well. And secondly, we need to take, okay, so after we have got the complaints and allegation, what does an engagement partner do? It will need to take remedial actions, either the remedial actions against the personnel who is not conforming to the QCS, or either if we identify any deficiency in design or operation of QCS or non-compliance with QCS, we can take a remedial action to solve those non-compliance also. Okay? Yes, sir. So these are all the 6 factors that we need to consider while monitoring the quality control system. Okay? Yes, sir. So now there is a small topic that talks about mechanisms for review of quality control. Now, what is mechanisms for review of quality control? So basically, there are different types of boards and organizations or forums or entities that checks whether the CA is performing his work with quality or not. The EQCR is not in itself sufficient for them. They have appointed different bodies, appointed different boards to check whether the CAs are working with quality or not. First among them is peer review board. Peer review board is formed with the members of the council of ICI. The central council members form a peer review board among themselves. What is the objective of the peer review board? To enhance the quality of the work. What they will do is they will select a particular audit engagement and they will check whether you worked with quality or not. If you worked with quality, if they think that you worked with the quality, then they will give you an unqualified or peer review report. What they will give is unqualified peer review report, which means that you will get a peer review certificate. Listen here. If you are working with quality, the peer review board will give you an unqualified opinion, and when you get an unqualified opinion from peer review board, you get a peer review certificate. What is the significance of the peer review certificate? If you don't have the peer review certificate, then you cannot audit listed entities. For auditing listed entities, you need to have peer review certificate. Okay? Yes, sir. What if, sir, we do not pass in the test of peer review board? Then they will issue a qualified report and they will tell you the date for follow-on review, where they will come again for the review and again will check your quality. Okay, yes sir, this is the work of peer review board. Second is quality review board. Quality review board is a mix of central government officers and council of ICI, and they are working on a risk based approach, like they, whether when in industry where there is more risk, they check more. Basically this is the game. What they do is they check your quality of work, they review the quality, they recommend to the council of ICI, and they guide members of the ICI for maintaining quality, for enhancing quality. And last is your NAFRA full form is National Financial Reporting Authority. NAFRA is constituted under Companies Act 2013, and it has all the big companies under its parlance, under its law, that is listed companies, insurance companies, banking companies. What does NAFRA do is NAFRA monitor the compliance of your laws and regulations. It oversee the quality of the members. It suggests the measures which need to take to ensure the quality of the members, and it also does investigation of auditors. You might have heard news that NAFRA has debarred these CAs, NAFRA has penalized these CAs. There are this CA which are involved in all the frauds that is going on in the company. So these are all the investigations that are carried on by NAFRA, and these NAFRA investigations can only happen for those companies which are covered under NAFRA rules. Okay, yes sir. So previously, before NAFRA was constituted under Companies Act, the Dada, the goon, or you can say the Dada, the Don of the market was QRB, because QRB had all the powers for investigating all the auditors of the listed and big companies. But now NAFRA has all the powers. So here it says that QRB can review the quality of members only for those entities which are not covered under NAFRA rules. So if an entity is covered under NAFRA rules, then only NAFRA has the power to review the quality, not QRB. Okay, yes sir. Other than those specified in the NAFRA rules and those referred to QRB by the NAFRA. If NAFRA, suppose there is an listed entity and NAFRA says, okay, I don't want to review the quality of this listed entity, and if NAFRA is himself referring to QRB to review the quality, then only QRB can review the quality of that particular listed entity, otherwise not. Okay, yes sir. Now we have to do 3 questions, 12, 13 and 7. Let's do 3 questions, 12, 13 and 7. First of all, let's do 7. What does 7 say, sir? It says, okay, so this particular question is asked in your recent RTP May 25, but you can say this is of an old course question that is not so relevant in your new course. What does it say, sir? So there was a CA basically who did everything, who did all the audit, who completed all the audit by 29th March 2017. Now next day when he was going to sign the auditor's report, he met with a road accident and died. Now there was another partner of the same firm, CA Rishi. What the CA Rishi did is he signed the accounts of the PK Limited on behalf of CA Kumar without reviewing the work performed by the CA Kumar. Now advise whether CA Wright is expressing his opinion on the financial statement. Now here the case is, and a CA has already reviewed or audited the financial statements of the entity. Can another CA rely on the work of the previous CA or not? Is that the case? Is that the question that is asked over here? Whether we can rely on the work done by other CA or not. So if you see it logically, obviously, sir, we can rely on the work done by the other CA, because CA already have those professional standards requirements applicable on them. So if other CA is working on anything, and if he is working as per the standards, that means that he is worked correctly and we can rely on their work or not. Okay, yes sir. But as a CA myself, I should, since I am now signing the auditor's report, since I will have all the authority in the audit, then I should first at least do a oversight, a overview, a review, exercise skill and care, and check some of the work that is done by other CA. I cannot just blindly rely on any other CA, whether it's of my firm or any of the other firm. I need to first check at least a few of the work of the other CA, then only I can rely on the work of other CA. I can rely, there's no doubt about it, but I should check whether I should be satisfied that the work done by the other CA is quite more or less correct. Okay, yes sir, but here we didn't review the work performed by CA Kumar. That is wrong. We should have reviewed at least. Okay, yes sir. So now as per SA 220, here the points that are mentioned are given in your pronouncement, are not given in your ICI module. Okay, one more thing I wanted to highlight. So here you might see, if you have previously followed any other books, you might see there is another topic highlighting how do we deal with complaints and allegation, how does engagement partner deal with complaints and allegation. Even that point is your for old course. You don't need to remember all those 6 to 7 points on how to deal with the complaints and allegation. That is your old course. That is not given in ICI module. In the new course, you don't need to learn those points. Similarly, I know ICI has given these points in RTP, but we need not to learn these points as well, because these are of pronouncements and we cannot do everything and anything. Okay, so you just skip all these points which are given by the ICI in this particular answer. Further, you can read from here, which says everything that I told you, that we need to exercise adequate skill and due care and review the work performed by the other CA before relying on their work. Okay, yes sir, you can just read everything and it's same that I have said, that I have told you. Okay, yes sir. Now next is what? Next is 12 and 13. Here, just last two questions and we are done with SQC1 and SQ220. What does 12 question say, sir? It says that the Sudhanshu, there is an assistant which we have hired to conduct the stock audit of a borrower. Stock audit was basically, suppose bank has given you a loan based on the inventory. Now the bank wants to check whether you have actually inventory of that value or not. So bank will hire an auditor to check the borrower's stock audit. So we have sent Sudhanshu to do the stock audit. Now Sudhanshu, what did Sudhanshu do was, the Sudhanshu asked the clients to get the accounts audited from their firm. Sudhanshu told, okay, I am doing your stock audit, but what you do is you do your statutory audit from our firm. In quid pro quo, in consideration, what I will do is I will issue a clean stock audit report. Clean stock audit report means without any modification. I will say that you have whatever you have given the records of inventory that are particularly correct, that are all correct. So now you have to tell me, is the approach of Sudhanshu proper? No sir, it is not proper. Hey, the Sudhanshu is not working as per quality control policies and procedure. How does it reflect on the quality control system? That the quality control system is not working correctly because Sudhanshu is bribing his own client for getting statutory audit done from their own firm. Okay, yes sir. So the approach of Sudhanshu is not proper. These practices are violating the code of ethics. So there is basically a code of ethics which we discuss in the basics, which are basically defines what are the ethical requirements of the ISCA, and here Sudhanshu is not working as per code of ethics. Okay, yes sir, it reflects poorly upon the quality control system, which requires that we should document and communicate to the firm's personnel, and it shows that the firm's personnel are not properly sensitized regarding requirements of SQC1. What is sensitized, sir? Sensitized means because we are not that much concerned with the requirements of SQC1. Our people are not that much concerned with the requirements of SQC1. That's why we have Sudhanshu is working like this way. Okay, yes sir, this was question number 12. These all small questions doesn't come in your paper, so don't worry about it. Maximum they can come in MCQs, that's all. Okay, yes sir. Question number 13, the last question. What does it say, sir? So basically in Caro there is clause number 7a. The clause number 7a, sir, specifies that in case of statutory dues is basically anything that you pay to the government. So in case of undisputed statutory dues, whether the company is regular in depositing the statutory dues or not. And in this particular case, the chartered accountant has given in its Caro report that the company is generally regular in depositing statutory dues. The reporting given by the chartered accountant is qualitative or not? No, it's not qualitative. Why it's not qualitative? Because as per Caro clause number 7a, we have to mention whether the company is generally regular in depositing its statutory dues or not, and we have to also mention the dates and everything. We have to mention like what was the due date, what was the date when the company paid the taxes. We just cannot mention that the company is generally regular. We have to mention, specify everything in detail. What were the taxes, what were the statutory rules, what was the due date, what was the payment date, what was the delay, what was the interest, and everything. So just by specifying that the company is generally regular in depositing statutory dues, the quality of reporting is not correct. Okay, yes sir, the reporting is not proper, hence the audit does not comply with the regulatory and legal requirements. And this was your SQC1 and SQ220. I hope it was correct, everything was clear to you. And secondly, for part 2, there is part 2 of the question bank as well, and there are SQC1 and SQ220 questions in part 2 as well, and those questions are direct question. You can directly identify from the last line of the question. So that part 2 will be your homework for all the chapters. For all the chapters you have to do part 2 as an homework. When you get time, you can just see the questions and the answers, and if you don't understand anything, then you have my WhatsApp number from the intro video, and you can directly message me from the WhatsApp, and then I will reply you if in case of any queries, because part 2 you won't have any queries, part 1 you will have only queries, and we have discussed all the questions from the part 1. And now one question is remaining, that is question number 8 I guess, and that will be covered in your essay question number 6, and that will be covered with your essay 230. Okay, yes sir. So lastly, before concluding this lecture, if you are watching it on YouTube, then do like this lecture, because definitely motivate me to provide you with much more resources, and comment down CA with your your name so that you make a manifestation that you are definitely going to clear your CA final exams in your particular attempt. And lastly, for this particular lecture, I just want to say you that auditors maintain quality in their work, as same wise students should also maintain quality in their effort, because this is your CA final exam and this is the most important exam of your life, one of the most important exam of your life. So if while you are doing your efforts, you should maintain quality in your efforts so that you get a passing results. Okay, yes sir. So this time we will definitely get exemption in audit. Keep me in your prayers. Thank you. Bye bye.